Welcome to the Gen Z Marketer podcast, where we have marketing conversations and everything in between. Avid readers are surely familiar with the Big Bad Wolf Book Fair. The event is held yearly since 2018 here in the Philippines and is usually an offline experience. However, due to the pandemic, the book sale is currently online. The experience, as always, is exciting but is not without its hiccups. So, with the overall Big Bad Wolf website experience, what can we learn on how to design UI UX for your online websites? How do you design a seamless online shopping experience? Let's digest that in this Market Trends episode. So, this episode is not possible, of course, without your support. Don't forget to follow the podcast to get notified on the latest uploads. I've got a lot of ideas for content to share with you. For those who don't know, Big Bad Wolf is a 24-hour book fair and it's the world's biggest book sale. It actually launched in Malaysia back in 2009 by founders of Book Access. So the founders, they basically advocate for making reading accessible to everyone through affordable prices, and they bring a lot of titles from a lot of different categories in Book Access and of course in Big Bad Wolf. So the book fair has been going on in the Philippines yearly since 2018. They actually already had an event here in Manila. They also had an event in Cebu and Davao. And currently they're hosting the book fair from June 30 to July 7 online. So as I said, it was an offline experience that translated online and is currently online. So let's talk about the main topic of this episode, which is really dissecting and evaluating the current UI UX of the Big Bad Wolf Book Fair. So first, what is UI UX? So UI UX is basically user interface and user experience. So this is how we evaluate whether an online experience is seamless for viewers. Is it an experience that is not good for viewers? Are there any hiccups? How is the flow of the website? All of these things. Before we digest the online experience, I'm going to also quickly run you through what the offline experience is like for the Big Bad Wolf Book Fair. So I've been to their events here in Manila since 2018, and I also was able to visit one of their events in Malaysia. And the experience for their offline or their actual events is pretty consistent. So, of course, first you have to queue and you can visit anytime. I've experienced visiting at midnight and in the afternoon. So the experience is pretty much the same, but it depends on how much visitors are there. But first, of course, you have to queue to line up to enter the event. Sometimes there are no lines if there's not much people, especially in midnight. And then, of course, once you enter, you're going to see a lot of books in a lot of tables. So the books are categorized and they're on tables. So you just have to basically browse and go through basically what you want to buy. And so because it's an offline experience, you're also able to inspect the books. Are they hardbound? Are they paperback? How much do they cost? What is the summary? Who is the publisher? When was it published? You're even able to read the book a bit. So that's really an exciting experience, and of course usually you could last hours when you're going through the event. And of course once you're done deciding which books you'll buy, you have to line up for checkout, and that's it. So it's a pretty straightforward experience, right? So now let's look at how they translated their offline experience to online. So my insights here alone are based from my own experience in accessing their website. I actually accessed their website on June 30 and was able to check out some books. And I also saw the feedback of most customers in comments in social media, and of course also the feedback of my peers. And all of those I have summarized just for us to digest what the user interface or user experience is like for the book fair and what can we learn from what they are currently doing. So first, let's look at the overall website look and feel. So this is basically your hook when you look at the website. Basically, the first thing you'll see, of course, is the home page, the fonts, the photos, the banners, the colors of the brand. And overall, I think the Big Bad Wolf overall website look is pretty decent. I think there's not much to comment on it. The colors look great. They are the brand colors. The fonts are easily read. There are no colors that are clashing. The banners are easily read, easily seen. It's not distorted or anything. So overall, I say they did a pretty good job on the overall look. So that's one thing that you also need to take away from this. For you to provide an overall seamless experience with your online shoppers or online audiences, you really have to look at, of course, the homepage or the other pages as well. You need to make sure that your colors look great. They do not clash. They do not hurt the eyes of viewers. You have to make sure that for the desktop or mobile versions, the experience is the same. The banners look the same. Everything is easily read. So you need to make sure that when you're designing websites, you have to put those into consideration. And not just websites, even your online stores for maybe Lazada and Shopee. Even though there's already a default interface for the apps, customers can still get a first impression about your brand based on the banners that you have on your store page. Next, let's look at the search experience, which is really one of the most important experiences for the Big Bad Wolf Book Fair. When it comes to the search experience, you have your search bar, of course. You can enter keywords there, or they also have their books in categories, and you can browse from there. And overall, the search experience, I noticed there was a change. And when I first accessed the website versus how you access it now, what I didn't like at the first time, during the first time that I accessed the website, is basically when you search for books, you can still see the sold out items, which for me personally, I don't think you should displaying sold out items, especially if there's a lot of search results. This is just making it more difficult for the shopper to get what they want, because even though, let's say, they find the title that they want and it's sold out, what's the point? They can't even buy it, and they can't even add it to their wish list, which is one thing I noticed with the Big Bad Wolf website as well. I don't think there's a wish list option. Next, let's look at the categories. I don't think there's much to do here. I did notice how certain books had different categories. I noticed some books were not really or shouldn't be part of a certain category, but they are. So I think they could still work on how they categorize their books. Next is the product listing. The product listing is very important for online websites and even for online marketplaces. And as usual, you would see in the Big Bad Wolf listings, you could see the photos and the details of the book. What I didn't like about this is basically they only had one photo per book and their details were a little bit lacking. You couldn't really see whether the book is hardbound or paperback. You couldn't see who the publisher is. You couldn't see the year publication date. For me, I had to check those information elsewhere. Luckily, the ISBN is available, so you're able to just search for it and just see if there are any reviews on the book, who's the publisher, or when what was it published. So I think they could still improve their product listings by adding those information. The book summary, I think they is a little bit limited or is a little too short. I'm not sure if they have limits on characters, which is why sometimes it's a little bit lacking and you're not sure if you're supposed to get the book or not. The photos, I do understand that they have a lot of books, which is why it may be difficult to add more than one photo. But at least for me, the listing could be slightly improved by adding other information, because basically what happened or what's happening is that shoppers are shopping blind. They have this brief idea on what the book is about, but there's certain information that's not available that they have to look for elsewhere. Another thing is that there are no book reviews, which is something that shoppers also need to look for outside of the website if ever you want to look at the reviews. And by that behavior alone, you could already tell that the shopping experience for the Big Bad Wolf Book Fair is a little bit not as seamless as it should be, or it's just not one time or one platform thing. It's very multi dimensional when you shop, because even for offline, I do look for information about the books online. That's one thing that we all need to remember, that the shopping experience is not linear anymore. It's not a one-time thing. It's omni-channel. And sometimes it's not even for shoppers. They look at your website. They look for resources elsewhere. They look for reviews elsewhere. So that's one thing that we also need to remember. Keep in mind that there is an omni-channel experience already when it comes to shopping. Now let's look at the checkout experience. So the checkout experience should be pretty seamless as well and pretty straightforward. It shouldn't have any issues. Payment should be a breeze. But so far, I don't think their checkout experience is that good. I had an issue with, or one of the common issues that I've heard of is basically promos not being accurate or discounts not being applied. I personally had to go through that experience that when I checked out my one of the items that I was buying suddenly had a different price. And then there are some vouchers that are not working. So from that alone, there's a lot of improvement that they can work on when it comes to the checkout experience. There's something wrong with how they automate their promos, and they really need to check that out. When it comes to payment, so they don't have cash on delivery, it's mostly online payments. I didn't really have an issue with online payments, although I did see some people having issues with checkout, also maybe their payments not going through, or basically their carts being updated. Other than the promos, their carts suddenly having out of stock items, which is pretty normal, but that's also an experience that they can improve on. Next is the operations, which is basically how they ship their items. So in their website, they did say that shipping takes 21 to 30 days from Malaysia, which I think is pretty long. Like, even looking at the industry standard, that's pretty long. And considering that they're in Malaysia, they're not even that far from the Philippines. Sephora Philippines ships from Singapore, and that it doesn't even take them that long to ship items. So I'm not sure what courier they're using or why it's taking 21 to 30 days. Hopefully, this is just the maximum and they could ship earlier than that, because honestly, I think that's too long of a wait. And actually, just to share, my order status is currently fulfilled after 2 days, which is promising. So hopefully, their 21 to 30 days delivery time is just the longest estimate. But overall, I think there's an improvement that they can work on when it comes to courier if it does take them that long to ship. Next is customer service. Okay, this is one thing that is seriously needs to be addressed, I think, is basically when you need to ask for help, there's there's no way to find customer support. Like, they don't have an active chat option. I think they should have an active chat option because this is a 24-hour event. Not to mention, that's also how they did it offline. You always have these volunteers you can consult with if you need help, but now they don't even have a chat option on their website, which I think is really, really important. They do have an email option, but I'm not sure how long that takes. And for me, it's just extra effort if you have to do email. For me, I think email support is good if you have actual order concerns, like, let's say, oh, my order hasn't been shipped, or oh, my order is missing, things like that, or I want a refund. That's what you do email support for. Chat support is for instant help. Let's say customers can't check out. Let's say customers can't find the book they're looking for. Chat is very essential for that. And especially for the Philippines, we're a Facebook country. I'm pretty sure I've seen people comment that they were reaching out to Big Bad Wolf on Facebook, but it's taking time to get feedback. So I do understand that they may have operational or issues when it comes to, like, maybe manpower. Maybe they don't have enough people to respond. But even so, I think that's one thing that they could address or they could definitely improve on. I do suggest they add chat support because I think that will change everything. That would definitely improve their checkout experience. So overall, when you look at, when you open the website, when you check out the items, it's a pretty decent experience, but it definitely has room for improvement. So, what are our key takeaways in the Big Bad Wolf online experience that we can definitely apply on how we do our online or even offline businesses? One is that copywriting is everything. You need to make sure that your copies are compelling, they're brief, but they provide everything. And of course, the importance of details. Details are everything. It's important, especially for online, that for customers, they should be able to look for the answers that they need. And if they can't, you should make it easy for them to ask for help. So customer service is also important. As we can see, instantaneous communication is more vital now, especially people have shorter attention spans and you want to serve them as quickly as you could. Next is another consideration you need to think of when you're doing business online is that, are you mobile ready? Is your website mobile ready? When your customer accesses your website on desktop, would they get the same experience when they access it on a tablet or a phone? You need to think of that. And another thing, you need to also think of omni-channel. As I mentioned, the shopping experience is no longer linear. It's not just a one platform kind of thing, it's multi-dimensional already. And last key takeaway I would leave you with is basically every touch point counts, from social media, from the website, from search, everything or every touch point counts. And you need to make sure that all of those touch points come together, because if one touch point is not doing well and another is, then the overall experience is going to be bumpy. It's going to have its ups and downs. So, in conclusion, I do commend the Big Bad Wolf organizers for being able to organize this event online with its limitations. But definitely, there's a lot of room for improvement that I do hope they are able to implement someday. So, what do you think of this episode? Did you also go to the Big Bad Wolf online event? What was your experience like? Let me know at my socials at the Gen Z Marketer on Facebook, at Gen Z MKT on Instagram, and at www.genzmkt.com.